Hello, you are watching our 2023 Year in Review program, which will bring you back to what happened in 2023, what events as well as reports that happened during 2023. A number of important economic events took place during this year, turning the country into the center of the world's attention. Among the important events were the 43rd ASEAN Summit in Jakarta in September and the historic inauguration of the Jakarta-Bandung high-speed train in October. During this year, the Indonesian economy still performs well despite the growing uncertainties in the world. And for the next 60 minutes, I, Luisa Kusnandar, will accompany you to witness again important events in the country that happened during 2023. Let's begin the first segment of 2023 Review in Economy. The Indonesian economy started the new year 2023 with optimism following a solid growth of above 5% recorded in 2022 on the back of high commodity exports and strong consumer spending. Indonesia's economic growth climbed to 5.31%, the highest in 9 years, in 2022, fueled by revived spending from the lifting of pandemic restrictions and as a global commodity boom sent exports to a record high. Speaking in a press briefing in Jakarta on Monday, February 6, the head of Statistik Indonesia (BPS), Margo Yuwono, said the economic growth last year was driven by exports, which grew 15.28% as the result of increase in prices of commodity prices in the world. President Joko Widodo proposed a budget of 3,304 trillion rupiah, or about 16.24 billion US dollars, for his final year in office, promising to guard the economy against global challenges and keep food prices stable. The budget proposal tabled in Parliament is an increase of around 6% from this year's spending plan, which has been revised up to 3,123.7 trillion rupiah. The budget also assumes 5.2% economic growth next year, slightly above this year's official forecast of 5.1% growth and inflation running at 2.8% next year, below this year's 3.1% outlook. Jokowi, as the president is popularly known, said he targets the 2024 budget deficit to be at 2.29% of gross domestic product or GDP, roughly the same as the latest outlook for this year's deficit of 2.28%. The World Bank has maintained its projection for Indonesia's economic growth to reach 4.9% in 2023, while expecting an uptick in growth over the medium term, the multinational lender announced Monday. The projection is lower than Indonesia's GDP growth of 5.3%, which the World Bank attributed to pent-up demand from the COVID-19 pandemic. This marked a substantial increase compared to the 3.7% growth in 2021. Speaking in a press briefing in Jakarta on Monday, June 6, World Bank lead economist for Indonesia and Timor-Leste said that Indonesia's moderate growth can also be attributed to a projected global economic slowdown. The Indonesian government has introduced a series of property tax incentives, including the exemption of value-added tax on purchases of houses under 5 billion rupiah, or about 321,000 US dollars, to revive the sluggish property market. Ministry of Finance Regulation number 120 of 2023 provides tax-free incentives for home buyers under 2 billion rupiah, and it will come into effect on 21st December 2023, applicable to Indonesian citizens and foreigners with taxpayer numbers. This incentive is not limited to those who purchase a house with cash. Users of home ownership credit facilities can also benefit. In addition, the maximum price of a house that can qualify for a tax exemption is 5 billion rupiah, but the government only covers the first purchase tax up to 2 billion. Indonesia's inflation rate has been under control along 2023 amid more stable food prices during the year. The annual inflation, which reached 5.51% in December 2022, continued to decline in 2023. The headline inflation rate reached 5.47% to its highest level of this year in February, but it gradually declined to within Bank Indonesia's target range of 2% and 4% in the following months. In November, the annual inflation rose slightly to 2.86% from 2.56% in October, on Friday, December 1st. The dominant contributor to Indonesian inflation in November 2023, as usual, was the food, drinks, and tobacco expenditure component. President Joko Widodo officially opened the 2023 Indonesia Stock Exchange (IDX) stock trading Monday, January 2nd, after a successful year 2022, during which the Indonesian exchange outshined most of Asian markets. In his remarks, the president praised the performance of the IDX main composite index, which managed to increase more than 4% of an annual basis despite uncertainties in the global economy in 2022. The chairman of the Financial Services Authority (OJK), Mahendra Siregar, said that the Indonesian market outperformed other Asian countries in 2022 despite the global uncertainties. The main price benchmark at the IDX rose by 4% to end the year at 6,850, while most of share indices in other Asian countries declined. New market debutant Aman Mineral International listed its shares on the Indonesian Stock Exchange (IDX) on Friday, July 7, 2022, after the country's second-largest copper and gold producer raised 10.73 trillion rupiah, or about $713 million in Indonesia's biggest initial public offering, or IPO, in 2023. The company, with the ticker symbol AMMN, sold 6.32 billion shares at 1,695 each during the IPO. Company shares, Aman Minerals CEO Alexander Ramli said AMMN would inject 1.79 trillion rupiah of the proceeds into its subsidiary Aman Mineral Industri for the smelter and precious metal refinery in West Sumbawa, West Nusa Tenggara. The Jakarta Composite Index (JCI), the main price benchmark at the Indonesian Stock Exchange (IDX), broke its 7,000 psychological barrier in November 1st for the first time since August 1st, 2022. The index further increased to 7,090, the highest level recorded this year at the close of the trading on Friday, December 1st. The index is expected to further increase by the year-end to reach its all-time high of 7,288 achieved in April 2022. But securities analysts said that the recent increase in the index did not really reflect the market condition, but rather a window dressing on large capitalized stocks such as Brent or Barito Renewables Energy and AMMN or Aman Mineral International and a number of bank shares. A rising United States dollar is putting pressure on other currencies and has sent the Indonesian rupiah to its lowest level this year. The Indonesian currency almost touched 16,000 per US dollars when it fell to 15,900 on October. Although the Indonesian currency managed to strengthen in November, it is still within 15,000 range, far below the government's 2023 target of 14,800 per US dollars. In fact, the rupiah showed a sign of strength when it rose to 14,800 in April, after falling to as low as 15,600 in December 2022. But the currency has continued to fall since then. Finance Minister Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that the fall in the rupiah exchange rate was due to the strengthening of US dollars and several other global factors, such as the rising geopolitical tensions. Bank Indonesia (BI) unexpectedly raised interest rates on Thursday, October 19, to halt the decline of rupiah and the U.S. monetary tightening and rising geopolitical risks, with economists seeing possible further hikes should the currency's weakness persist. The central bank hiked the benchmark 7-day reverse repurchase rate by 25 basis points to 6%, its second hike this year and its seventh since starting its tightening cycle in 2022. Its two other main rates were also hiked. Governor Peri Warjio said BI changed course of the interest rate due to fast-changing and very unpredictable global dynamics pushing energy and food up. The country is on track to surpass its combined total domestic and foreign investment target of 1,400 trillion rupiah, or about $90 billion this year, following an encouraging data of investment realization during the first 9 months of the year. The basic metal mining sector continues to dominate the foreign investment landscape in the country as more foreign investors enter the sector to take the advantage of the government's policy to boost the downstream industry in the mining sector, especially in nickel ore mining. So here are the highlights of our 2023 year-end reports on investment. Investment realization in Indonesia reached 1,207 trillion rupiah, or about $80.56 billion in 2022, exceeding the target of 1,200 trillion set at the start of the year, Investment Minister Bahlil Lahadilia said in a press briefing on Tuesday, January 24. This figure increased by 34% over the previous year's total of 901.02 trillion rupiah. Foreign investment accounted for 54.2%, with Singapore, China, Japan, and Malaysia as the main investors. Domestic investment contributed the remaining 45.8%. The foreign direct investment surged 44.2% to 654.4 trillion rupiah, or equivalent to $45.6 billion on a yearly basis in 2022, with the base metal sector drawing in the biggest inflows, the investment minister have said. Japanese car maker Mitsubishi Motor Corporation (MMC) plans to invest 5.7 trillion rupiah, about $375 million, to expand its production capacity in 2024 and to start production of the minicab MIEF battery electric vehicle in its plant in Indonesia by the end of this year. Industry Minister Agus Gumiwang Kartasasmita said in Jakarta on Wednesday, August 9, 2023, Indonesia had offered various incentives to attract investment into production of EVs, such as the removal of import duty and value-added tax on completely built-up CBU EVs for companies investing in domestic EV plants. Mitsubishi plans to increase its production capacity to 231,000 cars in 2024 from 176 cars in 2023. The company also plans to increase its exports to 98,000 cars next year. Indonesia and South Korea signed two initial agreements Friday, September 8, 2023, on stronger bilateral cooperation on electric vehicles and such future industries such as biotechnology and renewable energy. South Korea's Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy and Indonesia's Economic Ministry signed a memorandum of understanding that calls for strengthening bilateral cooperation on electric-powered vehicles, including EVs and hydrogen vehicles, in terms of infrastructure, research and development, talent cultivation, and policy measures. They also agreed to better support the Korea-Indonesia E-Mobility Cooperation Center set to open later this year in Jakarta. The signing ceremony took place in Jakarta with President Yoon Suk-yeol in the Southeast Asian country for an East Asia Summit. President Joko Widodo inaugurated several projects in Indonesia's future state capital Nusantara on Wednesday during his visit to East Kalimantan from November 1st to 3rd, 2023. The president inaugurated a total of 10 projects worth 12.5 trillion rupiah to be built in Nusantara City, located in North Penajam Pasar Regency, approximately 50 kilometers south of Balikpapan, the biggest city in East Kalimantan province. The projects include a 4.3 trillion rupiah, about 269.9 million US dollars international airport, which will occupy 347 hectares and featuring a 3,000 times 45 meter runway. The airport, which will have 7,530 square meter passenger terminal, will be capable of handling wide-body aircraft. President Joko Widodo has said that Indonesia will need at least 1,650 trillion rupiah, or about 106 billion US dollars in combined foreign and domestic investment next year to achieve economic growth of between 5% to 5.7% next year. However, President Jokowi, as he is more popularly called, acknowledged that to achieve the investment target, as the country has to compete with the other countries in attracting foreign investment amid the uncertain global condition. In his address at the National Coordinating Meeting on Investment in Jakarta on Thursday, December 7th, President Jokowi said that a land acquisition problem had to be resolved because it had become the main problem in realizing investment. A series of automotive exhibitions have been held in Indonesia this year, displaying the latest technology and newest car brands to car enthusiasts in the country. Among the largest car expos this year were the Indonesian Motor Show and the Gaikindo Indonesia International Auto Show. New car sales in the first 9 months of the year fell slightly to about 755,200 units, following a 19% increase in the same periods of last year. However, the sales of electric cars rose by 370% to 44,265 units during the same period. The following are the highlights of our 2023 year-end report on automotive industry. The Association of Indonesian Automotive Manufacturers Gaikindo raised the car sales target for 2023 to 1.05 million cars from the initial target of 975,000 cars, following a sharp increase in sales during the first quarter. Gaikindo Secretary General Kukuh Kumara said on Wednesday, April 2023, that the encouraging sales performance during the January-March period encouraged the association to raise the sales target by 7% from the initial target. According to Gaikindo's data, sales of new cars rose by 13.7% to 271,168 cars during this year's first quarter from 238,504 cars in the same period last year. The country's total new car sales reached 1 million cars in 2022, exceeding the target of 960,000 cars. President Joko Widodo on Tuesday, February 15, visited Toyota Motor Manufacturing Factory in Karawang, West Java to inaugurate the factory's 2 million car export to Australia on Tuesday, February 15, 2023. During this event, the president also launched the company's first ever Fortuner SUV car export to the neighboring countries. Jokowi, as the president is more popularly called, applauded Toyota Motor Manufacturing Indonesia for its success in exporting its cars to Australia. Meanwhile, Industry Minister Agus Gumiwang Kartasasmita said the automotive industry in the local plan reached 22.5 trillion rupiah in 2021, or up 220% compared to the investment in 2020. Car sales in Indonesia fell sharply in April following a significant increase in sales during the January-March period. During April, the whole sales dropped by 41.8% to 58,911 units compared to March, while retail sales declined by 29% to 68,534 cars compared to the previous month. Gaikindo's General Secretary Kukuh Kumara said on Friday, May 12, that the decline in sales in April was due to the long Idul Fitri holidays in April 2023, making working days shorter compared to the previous month. Kukuh Kumara said that the production would be normal again in May. Indonesia's largest car exhibition, Gaikindo Indonesia International Auto Show (GIAS), was again held in Indonesia Convention Exhibition BSD City, Tangerang in August this year, displaying at least 30 car brands comprising of 22 passenger cars and 8 commercial cars. The exhibition, which was held from August 10 to 20th, was officially opened by Coordinating Minister for Economic Affairs Airlangga Hartarto. GIAS was one of a number of car exhibitions held in the country this year. The other exhibitions was the Indonesia International Motor Show, which was held in the Jakarta International Expo in Kemayoran, Central Jakarta in February. While the sales number of electric vehicles in Indonesia remains minuscule compared to the fuel-based ones, the trend keeps increasing. Data from the Association of Indonesian Automotive Manufacturers Gaikindo shows that sales of electric vehicles in Indonesia reached 44,265 cars between January and September this year, surging by 371.5% from 9,388 cars seen in the same period last year. More than 77% of the total electric vehicle sales were dominated by hybrid cars. The most popular brand of hybrid cars in the country is Toyota Innova Xenix Q Modelista. A number of international events held in Indonesia this year have significantly helped attract foreign tourists to the country. The first international event held this year was the F1 Powerboat Tournament held at Lake Toba, North Sumatra in February, followed by Formula E Prix in Jakarta in June and MotoGP in Mandalika, West Nusa Tenggara in October. The latest one was FIFA Under-17 World Cup Tournament, which has gained worldwide praises. Tourism and Creative Economy Minister Sandiaga Uno said that such international events contributed a lot in attracting foreign tourists to the country. Tourism and Creative Economy Minister Sandiaga Uno has encouraged international airline operators to add more flights to Indonesia to nationals of 20 countries, including the United States, China, Australia, India, South Korea, Germany, Britain, and France to boost its tourism and economy. Tourism and Creative Economy Minister Sandiaga Uno said in a press conference in Jakarta on Friday, December 8, that the visa waiver would help boost tourism and investment. Indonesia is the latest country in Southeast Asia to consider waiving visas for China, a major travel market following Singapore, which on Thursday said a 30-day mutual visa exemption with China will be implemented early next year. President Joko Widodo has given a mandate to the Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, Sandiaga Uno, to establish the Indonesia Tourism Fund, or ITF, in 2024. The fund will be used to develop the country's tourism. Minister Sandiaga Uno said in Jakarta on Tuesday, December 8, that the government will allocate from the state budget each year at least 2 trillion rupiah, or equivalent of $128.4 million for the tourism fund. Later, the funds raised will be used to support major local and international events to be held in the country. Such events will be selectively chosen to ensure they can promote the Indonesian economy. Indonesia's tourism industry has shown a strong rebound during the last 2 years since the pandemic days in most parts of 2020 and 2021. According to the latest data issued by Statistik Indonesia or BPS, the number of foreign tourist arrivals reached 9.49 million during January to October period, an increase of about 125% compared to the same period in 2022. Meanwhile, during January-October period, domestic tourists made 688.78 million trips, an increase of 12% compared to the same period in 2022. Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy Sandiaga Uno said recently that the number of foreign tourist arrivals during the first 10 months of this year had exceeded the government target of 8.5 million.